Hi, everyone. This is Jinjin. We are from Amazon Global Learning Development Team. This work is around how we could utilize machine learning, specifically natural language processing tools, to help us make better use of a construct response question activity. And I have my colleagues with me, Kim, Larson, and Weijie. First, Kim will introduce the research question we try to answer and what kind of solution we're looking for. Then I will walk through the framework we came up with and the experiments we did to answer the research question. After that, Weijie will join us in discussing any question you may have. All right, Kim, over to you.
Okay. So as a learning designer, if the knowledge I want my learner to know about is understanding and sense making, I might ask them to explain something. And while I can create this type of question in an online environment using a selected response question, like a multiple choice, hit next, I have a better chance of promoting a deeper understanding of what I want my learners to know or do if I ask them to come up with an answer. And I can do if I ask them to come up with the answer. And so we can do this by using something we call a constructive response question. And the version that we use is called a short answer question. So next slide. Of course, the challenge with constructive response questions is somebody has to evaluate them. And this is challenging even when you have a small group of learners, but when you have thousands of learners, like at Amazon, it's impossible. Hit next. So, well, actually you got it already. Often as designers, we think of things like trying to give learners an expert answer so that after they submit their answer, they can compare it. Yeah, how often have you done that and really looked at that answer and said, oh yeah, my answer looks like that. Other platforms offer things like peer review, which has its own host of issues depending on whether or not peers have the knowledge and skills to be able to evaluate other peers' answers, whether there's a rubric available for them to do that. So what we set out to do, no, stay there, you're good. So what we've set out to do in this research is see how can we leverage natural language processing tools to evaluate short answer constructive response questions that can give hints and targeted feedback to learners. We hope that by being able to do this, we will increase the adoption of this type of question in learning environments. We want to leverage this technology so that we can give learners that targeted feedback on their answers, give them an opportunity to maybe change their answer and add to it by giving them hints. So now I'm going to turn this over to my colleague who's going to talk about the real work that you came here to see today in this session or hear about. Jinjin.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim, for setting up the context. So I will continue with the research question. Under the broad question, we have sub-questions that interest us. How can we provide such targeted feedback? How to derive misconception a learner has? How to analyze a text answer from learners so then we can derive the misconception and provide such targeted feedback. And the second question we have is, as designer, do we need to create grading rubrics in order to make algorithm work better? And ultimately, is the feedback helpful to learners in terms of maximizing the probability of achieving proficiency or making it possible for learners to achieve proficiency in a shorter time? So with those questions in mind, we did some review work. In the past decade or two, people have made great progress in short answer, automated short answer grading, ASAG. Here are some examples. From modeling framework perspective, one set of ASAG is to leverage supervised learning to grade. Another set is to conduct learner answer clustering and human intervention to design grading rubrics and grade. From feature set perspective, people also propose to use syntactics, semantics, exact word matching, sentence embedding, and even knowledge graph to represent the text. All amazing work. And the output of such ASAG is a score, either a binary score or a scale score that indicates how well a learner is performing on that particular activity. It is useful in some sense, but when it comes to providing feedback, then it provides no clue on where the learner needs to improve. On the other thread, people have claimed that we should provide explanation feedback, personalized feedback, other than a predefined expert answer. So that is about existing work. And on the other hand, we know NLP technique is emerging rapidly in the past decade, and we want to we are curious to know whether such technique is mature and reliable enough to help us understand the text and provide feedback, like a coach, a human, not just learning some relation between text and ground truth, which is not easy to get usually. Even if we are lucky enough or we try hard to get them, we still question them with fairness, bias, ethics, right? So we want to try out the latest NLP techniques and see how they could help us in terms of providing feedback. And also we are interested in how those techniques can help designers and to what degree they can help. So that is the why part, and we are gonna dive into the architecture. Here's the framework. It is an NLP pipeline that takes in both a learner answer and a model answer, conducts segmentation to derive key points from the model answer and the points from learner answer. After that, we construct answer embeddings at key point level and apply similarity measure to derive the misconceptions. At the end, we use a template to generate the feedback based on misconceptions. So here's an optional step, that is to use the learner answer to design the grading rubrics to supplement the model answer. In this work, we mainly focus on the misconception analysis and to what degree the grading rubric could help. Sorry, a couple of notes here. A model answer is designed by the activity designer, and a key point is a grading point, and a point is a concept, a phrase a learner communicates. The misconception is either a missing or an inaccurate key point, which is interchangeable with the knowledge gap. It is about where the learner needs to improve. So here are two major NLP modules, segmentation and answer embedding. We are gonna look into each of them. First is the answer segmentation. The goal here is to derive the grading point from the model answer and the point from the learner answer so that we can compare later on. We test different methods, language model based one, which is the dominating solution as of now. And we test both basic BERT and fine-tuned BERT. The basic one, there's no further contextualization, and the fine-tuned one, there's a contextualization step with a textual semantic similarity measure task, which is claimed as the best performer in capturing the semantics, according to the authors. We want to see how useful the fine-tuning step is in extracting the semantics. The second set is the statistical based approach. We use the well-adopted DF-IDF, yet another keyword extractor. Both use statistical features to identify and rank the most important key phrases. The third class is the graph-based. We use partial speed, text rank, and the basic idea here is to create a graph in which the nodes are the keywords and the edges are the connections between them. And of course, there's a weight on the edge indicating how strong the connection is. So after we have the answer segmentation, we derive a list of key phrases for both answers. Then we embed both answers at key point level and then conduct a similarity measure to derive the misconceptions. We test different methods here as well. First is a transformer based, which is the dominating architecture that constructs a language model, which is the semantic mechanism, as we all know. And we use sentence transformer that can embed a sentence, a phrase, or a word. Same as in segmentation, we use both BERT and fine-tuned BERT in representing the semantics. Again, we want to see the difference a fine-tuning step brings. For non-transformer based, we use multitask CNN and GLAF. Both construct embeddings based on statistics other than semantics. We want to see how semantics is helping in representing the text. Okay, so that's a framework and the components. Now let's get into the experiments. We use two CRQs to demonstrate the idea. The CRQs we use are embedded in the learning system we developed at Amazon, and they are intended for practicing management skills as manager at Amazon. For each CRQ, we pick a random answer set that has 30 entries and perform misconception analysis for them. We use expert annotation as ground truth, in which there's consensus built upon among experts. We use true positive rate and false positive rate as accuracy measure. Here's one example. Given a scenario in which there's a story that a manager successfully led a project and delivered it with her team, the learners are asked about what they have observed that the person did well as a manager. So here are 6 points we expect from learners, which has been explained to them before this activity. It is things that she can prioritize those projects. She considers their capabilities, she communicates, she do follow-ups, she evaluates, and also iterate on the for further improvement. So here's one example from learner, which has touched upon point 2, 4, 5. Therefore, the misconception lies in 1, 3, 6. I hope that makes sense to you, makes some sense to you. So here's extra examples with evaluation result. Great means the model did a great job in capturing the misconceptions. So in general, models did capture what we want them to capture. That means we have a high true positive rate. And the algorithm didn't capture what we don't want them to capture, low false positive rate. So which is kind of cool. Yeah, here's the low positive. And then we let's get into the metrics of the experiments and the findings we have. So we conduct 4 sets of experiments and test effectiveness of the framework and find answer to whether the grading rubric could help. So the experiments are around semantic embedding, learner answer, model answer segmentation, and whether we need a grading rubric. In experiment 1, what we did is to apply 6 semantic embedding methods on the segmentation result, which is derived with different segmentation methods. What we found is transformer-based language model with a fine-tuning step that has the best performance across different segmentations. It indicates that semantics is a really important feature compared to statistical features and graphical relationships between phrases. Furthermore, contextualizing a language model with a similar application, let's see a fine-tuning step, similar task, could improve the semantic accuracy compared to the other language models. And another finding is we could fine-tune the parameters, hyperparameters, to make the non-transformer-based one to work comparatively well. Hyperparameters here include the relevancy of the keywords, the similarity thresholding. And the third finding is if we use the same statistical features in both segmentation and embedding, then the result is even better than non-transformer-based ones. All right, in experiment 2, we test different segmentation for the learner answer. We found that language-based ones achieve a relative balanced result between the 2 scores we're looking at. Other approaches tend to get higher TPR but at a cost of a higher FPR as well. So it indicates that semantics importance in segmentation in the fine-tuned language model makes the result a little bit better. And we also found that the same, if we fine-tune the hyperparameters for the non-semantic ones, then they can also achieve decent performance. All right, the experiment 3 is really interesting. I want to have your attention. We test segmentation on model answer. The first finding is for both semantic and non-semantic based approaches, they achieve comparatively good result. This is different from what we have observed from learner answer segmentation. Why? We suspect that designers are following some of the best writing practices, design practices. As a result, the statistical features and graphical relationships between those phrases are well constructed in the embeddings, and it's easy for the algorithm to capture. However, in learner answer, what we have is free-form text in which we don't have any guideline for learners to express those ideas they have, which is really free-form. So we conclude that if the text is well written in terms of the statistical features or the graphical relationships is well constructed, then non-semantic methods works fine. If not, then semantics matters and helps in representing the text. The last one experiment is do we need grading rubrics? The first finding is the semantic-based method perform consistently, whether we have or we don't have a grading rubric. That means semantic-based ones focus on the concept of the text, and it is insensitive to the way the concept is conveyed. It means as long as the semantics of the grading points are well written in the model answer, then adding more expressions that carries the same concept doesn't help in improving the performance. That means contextualizing the language model could potentially save human effort in designing the rubrics. Compared to that, non-semantic based ones is relatively sensitive to the length of the model answer, and more similar expressions, larger chances of hitting the grading points. It indicates that we still need grading rubric if we use the non-semantic ones. All right, a quick recap on the insights. Semantic matters, contextualization helps, and semantic ones could potentially save human effort in designing the grading rubrics. And non-semantic ones could still work if the text is well structured and with some fine-tuning effort. So let's revisit our initial research question. We proposed and implemented an NLP pipeline to conduct a misconception analysis. And for the second question, if we use state-of-the-art embedding techniques, then human effort could be potentially saved in designing those comprehensive grading rubrics, which is awesome. And for E, we're not able to answer yet, which is in our future work. So in the future, we deploy this solution in our products and deliver the real-time feedback to learners and observe whether such kind of activity and feedback of such kind of activity is really helping them to achieving their goal. And we also wanted to apply the same solution to the other contexts in workplace learning, where we want to find insights through free-form text. And we also wanted to extend the approach to analyze other formats of content, such as audio, code, equation, or even emotions, because what we essentially need here is a representation of something in some dimension. That could be text in English in the dimension of semantics, or it could be code in the dimension of symbols and logics and so on. Whatever it is, as long as the representation of that thing is constructed and as a prerequisite. So, all right, that's the end of the sharing, and wanted to say big thanks to Amazon Global Learning and Development team, and also thanks for this great opportunity to talk to all of you. Thank you.
The Jinjin actually and Kim actually really good talk, and let me encourage people to drop actually their questions in the chat. I just dropped actually a little thing in the chat myself just for actually because we've started to do this thing where we let actually teachers get guesses for their children's open-ended responses. We're trying to actually guess kind of like the way Google Smart Reply does, giving you, here's your 3 options that actually a teacher could kind of respond to. You guys are going right to giving people feedback right away, right? Where you're trying to actually guess, but you had to start with all your misconceptions ahead of time. Do I have that right?
So the purpose here is we wanted to directly look into the answer from learners and then derive the misconceptions. That's the first step. So then we can have the confidence in providing them the feedback. Give me, yeah, please add if you wanted to have more clarification on this.
Well, I think you nailed it, right? Actually, I think you made it very clear. And by the way, Nancy Lewin actually said in the chat, this could be used actually to efficiently and effectively provide feedback for learners in various programs, English language learners, special ed learners, as well as actually the standard learners. And when the brain is inquiring, it is actually ripe to grasp new learning. The immediate feedback is quite important. Any reactions?
Kim, you want to take on that one?
I'll turn it into a question for you, Kim, which is like,
Thank you.
Do we know, like, it would be really cool if we know for certain types of actually users, and at Amazon, you probably don't have the standard K-12 sorts of things about, English language learner or special ed, but you don't know yet if actually, hey, if this technique is particularly useful for actually adapting to certain types of learners?
No, we don't. And one of the things that we thought about doing is giving the learners the feedback and then also asking learners what they thought of the feedback, right? So giving them a chance to respond. We're not going to come out of the gate grading them, so to speak, on this. We want to get some more data back from learners and go, is this, do you think that our feedback to you on this answer is accurate? And if not, why not? And so that's kind of one of the next steps we'd like to do as well, is research that and find out a little bit about how is that coming across to learners. I don't know whether that would be helpful in these other environments. It might. Like I said, we don't work in K through 12, so it's a little different because you are talking about a different level of knowledge than a post-secondary education type stuff. So
excellent.
Yeah, I want to add one sentence here. So what we have is a technique that could help understand the text in this context and then derive the misconceptions. So if it is a different knowledge, a different setting, then as long as the representation could be constructed, if it is still the text, then I think this could still work. But if it is equations or those math, then we need to construct those embeddings first, and then we test whether it works.
Anyways, this seems like actually really cool, important work, and clearly actually getting kids to try to explain themselves. And I always say kids, but learners, generally speaking. Amazon's got lots of adult learners, and getting them to articulate stuff is really important. And maybe they're going to learn more from it. Anyways, you guys did a great job. Good job recovering actually from the falling off the Zoom. And so, can I ask my audience to actually give these folks a round of applause?
Apologize and appreciate.
Hey, it's good. It's good.
Thank you very much.
I need to be able to simulate a bigger crowd. Roar.